Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Camera Work Podcast number 27. And I am super excited for this episode. I'm John Ricard, by the way. And my co-host, Ray Tamara, is here as well.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Great to be here. I know I've been out of action, missing in action, but I'm back and I'm looking forward to doing the podcast. And hopefully you're listening and telling your friends and letting us know what you want to talk about.
Right. And Ray's been gone for a couple of weeks, but the real reason I'm excited, I'm glad to have Ray here too, but I'm really excited because Sean Cummings is here from Show Magazine, and Sean was on September or something.
Yes, Ray wasn't here. I didn't even know Ray could talk, so I'm glad.
Yeah, but the funny thing about Ray is a lot of people who know Ray are think Ray doesn't talk, and Ray doesn't even talk to me sometimes, but he is good on a podcast. You put him on a mic and he starts talking.
Well,
so
there's a lot of people that don't talk to you, John. So
yeah, I guess not.
That's not a good example.
Right, people have something against me, I guess.
Personally, yes. Everyone's against you on social media.
Oh God, the whole
Twitter,
world.
the whole Instagram universe, Twitter, they don't like you, John.
Right. Now, we got a lot to talk to you about, Sean, okay? Let me knock out a couple of Ray things, because Ray was gone for a month, right?
A couple of weeks, 10 days. I went to Utah. I went to the Sundance Film Festival and basically was shooting celebrities at the airport and in the streets and just anywhere. I go there yearly because I just get more heads, different heads in Utah than I would get in New York. So I definitely look forward to going to Utah. And then after that, I went to Los Angeles where I didn't work. All I did was decompress. A friend of mine opened up a garage or a body shop in Hawthorne, so I was taking the metro, looking at the Watts Towers, going to the Culver Stairs, and there's this thing, it's Mount Wilson, which is in Pasadena. It's 7 miles up, 2,000 feet elevation change, and I did that. It took me 4 or 5 hours, and it was a beast. It totally totally killed me for the rest of it. I couldn't train at Eddie Bravo after that.
Wow, but you did make it to 10th Planet at least once.
I did one day. I was supposed to go 3, but after the second and third day, it was just my legs were tight, and I knew that I just couldn't perform at 10th Planet.
Right, Sean was asking.
You should have called me. You're in LA, man.
Yeah, no. 10th Planet is
next time you get to LA, make sure you call us.
Yeah.
But what's 10th Planet?
10th Planet is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. It's done by, it's taught by Eddie Bravo, and it's at the Tap Out Gym in downtown LA.
That's where I work out.
Oh yeah. No,
Oh, you really? You're at Tap Out in downtown
I'm
LA?
my trainer.
Wow.
I'm
you got to
2
go
miles
there,
from
man. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu.
It's right there on
It's a jiu-jitsu school.
Well, I didn't know
Pico and
they.
Grand, or Pico.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I live 3 miles from there.
Wow. No, I'm gonna take you there next time, man. It's just it's a style of jiu-jitsu that tends to be a little looser than some other places. It's more of a rock and roll kind of feel. Class might start a minute late. They might spend some time talking rather than intensely working out in the first 10 minutes. It just has a great feeling to it. So I'm a big fan of it. And the guy who runs it, Eddie Bravo, is really cool. I'm a huge fan of his. So I kind of introduced Ray to it, and he loves it. So whenever we're in LA, it's I got to go to 10th Planet. It's so much fun, But run us through one more thing, Ray. When you're doing this Park City, Utah stuff, right? Nobody hired you to go there. You just kind of went on your own dollar, and you just work in the airport, like you said?
Yeah, no, everything is spec. I am a contributor at Getty Images, so they don't assign me anything. What I have to do is find my work, find the heads, find the people, wait for the people, and I pay for everything. But I know that it's gonna pay off because these are heads that I wouldn't necessarily get in New York, and I'm confident that I'll make my money back. And when I don't make my money back, then I just don't do that. I used to go to Los Angeles for the award shows and the Grammys, but the work dried up for me. It didn't dry up for other photographers, but for me. So that's why I don't go to Los Angeles to work.
Right.
I go there to just hang out and just see stuff because the Grammys were taking place during the time I was there, but I learned when I went to Miami that if I go there, I have to be specific. If I go there for vacation, then it's vacation. I can't balance it too because I just end up working and being mad.
Right. So you got to go for either vacation or for work.
For me.
Right. But it always strikes me as kind of odd, that that it always strikes me as kind of odd that like the airport in LA lets everybody shoot in the airport. You ever watched like TMZ? And they have they had one the other day of Gabrielle Union, and they followed her like from like the gate all the way out the airport. It was like 3 minutes long, and I'm like,
But can
that's
Ray
weird.
elaborate a little bit on why the work dried up for him specifically and not other photographers?
Because I changed my line of work. Before I used to work for the record labels and for the liquor companies. So they used to do a lot of events, and those events would hire me. Those publicists or the event planners would hire me to cover their events. But I started doing other work, which is paparazzi work, and that kind of put me out of the loop of the publicists. So they were less likely to hire me for that type of work.
Got it. Completely understand.
But the work is still there, and people are still doing it. It's just that they're not hiring me to do it, and that's the choice I made.
right. But you shifted some of your work in New York too, though, right? Because I know you do like Letterman a lot now, and there was a time you weren't doing as much of that. You were doing like more like movie sets and things, right?
I mean, I basically try to be as efficient as possible. So now in New York, it's really cold. It's brick cold. So when it's like 10 degrees, I'm not trying to stand out in front of Letterman or GMA unless it's a big person. So I'm really, like, I'd rather just go to the movies and see something for $7 than stand out and get a shot of somebody that I may not sell.
What
Right.
movie can you see for $7?
And if you go to AMC before 12 o'clock, everything is $7 unless it's
Wow.
unless it's IMAX 3D.
Right.
etc.
Ray knows the bargains.
Not
okay.
in LA.
No, Ray knows the
that's
early
matinee.
bargains.
If you go
Right.
before a certain time, you get the matinee
Matinees
price.
are in LA, and some theaters are more expensive than the regular night.
I think you guys got more free
because
time.
they're more
that's why.
popular.
Yeah, you guys got more time, I guess. But anyway, let's get more into Sean for a second, right? Now, Sean is the publisher of Show Magazine, and we're recording this. What is it? Is this February 1st now?
Yeah, no,
No,
well,
31st.
This is January 31st,
31st.
2014. So this is the current issue. Because remember, if you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, we also do it on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, you can catch it on iTunes.
Great
But
picture.
yeah, that we shot. And the cool thing, this is a cover, and it's a picture of Erica Mena and Sen Santana. They're both on Love and Hip Hop New York. And this particular picture, I'm really proud because I didn't take the photo, but it's my studio at least, right? And those are like my lights firing, so that's cool.
Those are your pro photos.
There we go, my D1 Airs, right? How cool is
We
that?
might have actually. I know we did one shoot when my D800 broke, or D600,
That's right,
and
yeah.
we were using your D3.
That might have been
D3X.
So that might have been the D3X.
Might be my
Do you remember? Because that was the day
Right.
we were running around like crazy trying to
Right.
get my camera fixed. But now, thanks to John, I have 3 cameras.
Oh, look at you. I said you got to have a
So
backup.
you gotta
That's
have a
huge.
backup. You
Right.
can't be on assignment, being paid to shoot and say,
Right.
oh, well, my one camera broke.
Right. And the same with lights. It's like, that's why years ago people used to ask a lot about whether they should get a pack and a head system or a monolight. And I used to explain that if you needed 2 monolights, you would bring 3. So you had 3 pieces of gear. One is a backup. But if you were using a pack and a head system, then you'd have to back up the pack and back up a head. So it was like 2 extra pieces of gear that you needed to bring. So the monolights made more sense for a lot of people. Although today it seems monolights are so much more popular, it's not even a question anymore, though. But you transitioned from being the publisher of Show into being, are you the only photographer, or would you call yourself the lead photographer for the publication?
No, I mean, I'm the only one that's shooting for the publication right now. So this
Right.
entire issue is the first issue with 100% my photography.
Right. Is that cool? Were you like super proud? Were you like, damn, I shot this?
I'm more excited with the next issue that we have coming out. We're actually doing a double issue, meaning that there'll be 2 magazines under the same barcode on the newsstands at the same time, which is going to be the first time ever, I think. So I'm excited about that because my photography has definitely progressed, even from the first time we shot here on color paper to the second time we shot here on color
Right.
paper. It's like a huge difference in my work and even us just lighting it.
Right, right. Well, you had a
So-
very specific way to light, and I thought it was funny because I had 1 or 2 people, when you said you were shooting here in my studio, and people who know me as a photographer and know you as a publisher, they were kind of like, did you shoot that, John? I'm like, no, I did not shoot it. I lit it, but I didn't even light it in terms of the artistic direction. I lit it
His specs.
to Sean's specification. Sean was really clear because what Sean was even describing, in some ways it didn't even make sense to me in the beginning. The way he was like, I need a light here, and I need one on the side, I need one on the top. And I'm going, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd do it like this. But Sean was like, no, put the lights here. And then when we did it, it looked like Show Magazine, which I thought was interesting.
And it's
the
even
show
my
lighting.
style personally is even
Mm-hmm.
progressed to something that I personally like, and I call it like hyper bright, or it's not
Right.
hyper exposed.
Right.
Like you would call it overexposed.
Correct.
But I say hyper exposed because I actually like that kind of cartoon looking element
Right.
that I get from overexposing or hyperexposing an image, which
Right.
I'm finding out now because I've tried to kind of, maybe not do it. But when I see the images, and the one thing you have to understand about Show Magazine is that we were founded with the idea that all of our images was also going to be repurposed for digital use.
Right.
So as good as they look on paper, they look 10 times better with the light behind them.
Like on a screen. Right.
So now that I'm shooting, I'm actually finding myself, overexposing or hyperexposing an image because
Right.
I like that 3D kind of I wouldn't call it cartoon, but an
Right.
animated look
Right.
that I get from the images. So when you look on them on Instagram, at first people are like saying, "Oh, it looks too much like a cartoon or whatever." But
Right.
I personally like that.
You like it, which is what
And
you should
then
shoot.
you see other people again, imitating that look.
Right.
Maybe they don't like it, but if
Right.
you do it enough, then they say, "Well, that's the standard now."
Right.
So
Yeah, that's
let me
true. And then
just do it.
yeah, kind of like Terry Richardson did this thing with the harsh light on camera flash, the shadow behind it. It's a look I don't personally like, but everybody has ripped it off. So
Right.
because it gets popular, but I thought it was funny because one time we were shooting and some lights didn't fire. I think it was when it was the Love and Hip Hop taping, and you were kind of fake shooting for the TV cameras, and you didn't have all the lights firing, and you were looking at the pictures like, oh my God, these are horrible. And me and Ray were going, it looks pretty good.
Right,
It just
even-
wasn't the show look.
Even Tahiri, the model at the time, she liked one of the pictures and like half the lights didn't. Because when you do
Right.
portraits, it's usually like 3/4 of your face is lit and there's like one.
Yeah,
lit
there's
off.
some shadow.
And I like that stuff too.
Right.
I just personally haven't learned how to shoot like that, and I
Right.
am looking forward to learning like different shooting styles.
Right.
So I'm actually have a maternity shoot that I'm doing with Christian Arias, who was the
Okay.
photographer prior to me. She's now pregnant.
Oh, boy.
So I was like, hey, let me shoot your maternity pics. But
Right.
I really invited her to do that so she could teach me how to
Right.
shoot
How to
maternity
light it a
pics.
different way,
Because
right.
the only lighting that I know right now is the, this whole hyper exposure.
Right, but again, but that's the show
With
brand,
the-
and
yeah,
it makes
exactly.
sense. It's a consistent look in the magazine.
Right, but everything that I'm shooting besides, I've done like 2 lights in a hotel, and I've done
Right.
like the behind the scenes stuff with the Fuji, but I would
Right.
say that I need to expand, my ability to do more shooting beyond what we
Right.
do in the studio.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think the different gear helps. I think that helps a lot. Like I think if you're mentally thinking my Nikon is for that, what you're calling hyper exposed
Yeah.
look, then you pull out what do you have, the XE1 Fuji or the X Pro one?
the
Can't
X1,
remember.
I traded in the X1 Pro because it didn't have a flash.
You wanted the built-in flash.
I wanted to build
Right.
a flash, which I've used a lot, and I think there was another reason. Oh yeah, it's like $700 cheaper.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
essentially the same camera.
Yeah, I actually like the XE1. If I were buying one, I would want the smaller one. I would get the XE1.
It's smaller.
Yeah,
and
that's the one I
don't
would
think
buy.
the specs are any different.
Oh no, it's the same chip in the
Same
X
chip.
Pro one and
And
XE1.
it all fits the same lenses. So
Right, yeah, there's no technical
I
difference.
like
It's
that
just
a lot. So I
body,
actually,
yeah.
another thing too, I remember you had the think tank bag, and I didn't even realize I had a think tank bag.
That's funny.
Until I got
So you're on the
home.
right track.
So now I have 3 think tank bags. I have one
Right.
for the D600,
Right.
which if I'm just going out on video by itself,
Right.
and I have another one that carries everything, and then I have a separate bag for the Fuji XE1. So
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So you're
I'm
you're,
like,
you're
I
bagged out.
overdo it when it comes to
Right.
equipment.
But I know for
and
me,
stuff like
if
that.
I pull out my Leica, then I'm going to shoot differently than my Nikon. So for
exactly.
you,
The Fuji.
using that XE1 for your BTS, your behind the scenes stuff, probably gives you a different feeling and a different look than when you're using your Nikon with all the lights. So I think different gear can help give you that slightly,
Right.
different, different vision.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've talked about that, but it's like either shoot with the, I don't know. I'm still blocked with that because I either shoot or I don't shoot, and it's regardless of what camera I use.
Yeah, I think
shoot
a
or
lot
I
of
don't
times
shoot.
you approach it sort of mathematically or money thinking, not artistically
Yeah.
sometimes. And you're like, well, why am I shooting this if I can't sell it? It's hard to get out of that
Yeah.
framework sometimes, I think.
Yeah, but
you know?
I have to because I have to diversify. That's what we talked about. That's what you've been talking about. And
Right.
I see myself being so reliant on one or two people that if the money stops with that person, then I could be financially ruined. And
You
that's
mean
not-
clients when you say
So
that?
that has to change, and I have to
Right.
figure out other ways to make money, other clients or other revenue streams, because I just can't go under.
Yeah, and it's interesting because one of the photographers I respect the most, and I guarantee Ray knows what name I'm going to say when I talk about the photographer who I respect probably the most. You want to take a guess at it?
I know who it is. It's Coward.
Absolutely, Jeremy Coward. And it was interesting because I heard him speaking not too long ago. I forget what the topic, what the platform was, but he was talking and he talked about how, and this is a guy who I respect his work tremendously, what he creates photographically, and the clients he gets, the TV work and the celebrity work and the music industry work he gets. And he was trying to say he has 10 streams of income, 10 different ways that he makes money, and he feels that that's what photographers need to be doing in 2014. And that had an impact on me because it's someone I really respect who's saying it, someone who's succeeding as a photographer who's saying, selling photographs is only one of my streams of income. I have multiple streams of income, so I thought that was interesting. And for me, I have a couple at least. Like I teach this jiu-jitsu class twice a week at a private school on the Upper East Side, and that provides income for me. So my income is not 100% photo-based. Now it's teaching jiu-jitsu and selling photographs and the occasional rental of the studio, to
But
people
I
like Sean
think
tomorrow.
his 10 revenue streams are all photography based.
Not really.
Related.
Related.
They're sort of. They're not like teaching jujitsu, but it might be teaching a workshop, developing an
Yeah, but-
app. They're in the same world, but it's still different than years ago
They're
when
all about him being a photographer. So what were his 10?
he didn't name them all. But I
Well,
think
what do you think they are?
I would think there's some from teaching workshops, selling DVDs.
Licensing images,
No, that would still be the selling photos, but I think some of it would be like similarly
hire
photo
a
related.
photographer for hire. He probably has a website.
Yeah, but those would be still the same thing. But I think
No, those are 10
apps,
different revenue streams.
No, but like app would be a little different. They probably are somewhat photo related, though. I think they are definitely photo related.
Yeah.
But there might be one in there that's not photo related. There might be one.
Let me ask you a question,
Yes.
and Ray as well. If you can add more photo-related revenue streams to your, catalog, what would they be?
For me, for example, years ago, I used to make a ton of money, a lot of money selling lifestyle photographs. What I would do is just get models together, and I'd do these scenarios.
I used to buy some of them.
There you go, right? We get the models kissing, we get the guy and girl kissing, get couples arguing. You just do the sexy girls solo stuff, and magazines like Smooth Black Men, Today's Black Women, and stock agency, like at that time it was Retina for me. They would buy those images, and I did at least 30 book covers off stock images. It was fantastic. Urban Books would buy them. Doubletree Books would buy them. Just mainstream book companies too would buy these images. But for me, stock died when this thing called micro stock came out, and then images went for $5. So now you're supposed to be producing thousands of images and selling them for $5 each. And I didn't like that business model as much as I liked selling them for anywhere between 150 to 300 to 500 to thousands when it was a book cover. So that would be a stream I would love to do again if the money was right. Just stock photography, because it was so much fun directing those shots and creating them.
Well, what else? What about in the digital space? You said you did a workshop, so that's one.
Actually, yeah, that's a revenue stream for me. I just did a workshop at Unique Photo 3 weeks ago, maybe,
Okay.
and that was great. It was 35 people attended. They were all paying, and it was great. I just taught some lighting techniques, and I had a ball doing it. So that would be another revenue stream for me.
Not like
yeah.
weddings and.
Sometimes I give it thought. I think there's still a lot of money in that, but that world hasn't opened itself to me yet. I'm kind of open to it, I think, but for years I had never considered it.
Okay.
Now maybe a little bit, but I know with show you absolutely have more of a revenue stream than the magazine. Where does the magazine itself, where does that fit into the revenue stream? I'm holding it up again for the camera if you're looking at YouTube. What percentage of the income for show comes directly from the sale of the magazine?
Directly or indirectly, and can you put it down so you stop blocking
I'm blocking your
face?
shot. Yeah, they want to see Erica Mena and Sin Santana. They don't want to see you.
Open up the magazine, and this is beautiful Sin Santana.
Go
right
even closer
there.
to the camera.
So
There we
See,
go.
Sin Santana.
There's Sin Santana.
The rest you have to, go to your newsstand and purchase it.
Oh, and before we even answer the question, I think your girl Erica yelled at Ray, didn't she, Ray?
Oh yeah.
Oh, when you were,
Yeah, but she's, I mean, you just
You
have to
watch
have
the
a
show
thick
every
skin
week.
With that. I know I don't have a thick skin, but she did scream on me for something, and I just, Sean just said, "Don't worry about it," and then just continue.
If you watch the show, she fights literally every week. She's throwing plates, she's throwing chairs. I mean, I love the show. She fights like crazy on the show.
The funny
so.
thing about that is that, Ray was taking behind the scenes pictures, and so
Right.
was I.
Right.
And I had one of the behind the scenes pictures retouched, at my own expense and sent it to her. And now someone sends me a picture of my picture on the back of her phone case. So
That she's selling, you mean, or just her own copy?
Exactly. So no, she's selling it. So
Good
I've
on
already,
you.
threatened to sue over that because that's one of our revenue streams is licensing images.
Wow.
So
It wasn't Ray's shot. It was your shot?
No, it was my shot.
That's good.
On the Fuji, and licensing images and is one of our big revenue streams, and we license images to a calendar company out of Hawaii.
But are you able to license? And for what you're doing, Erica Mena is a celebrity. That's a celebrity for the world that you're shooting. It's
Yeah.
not celebrity for People magazine, but for the world you're shooting, it's a celebrity. When you shoot it for the magazine, do you have a release that's allowing you to use it commercially elsewhere from Show
course.
Magazine?
Of course.
No, but that's a big. Of course, when I shoot celebrities, I never have the
Well,
right to
she's
license it
still
commercially.
an urban model, so
Right.
it's not like I'm shooting Mariah Carey,
Right.
who's not going to sign a model release per
Right,
se.
but she doesn't mind, like she never says, or if she has some manager, they never go, well, she's not gonna sign a release that's gonna let you put it like on a calendar, separate from the magazine.
I mean, they would if she was that big at the time, but she's not that big. Maybe she's bigger now, but at the time that we contracted to do this shoot, it wasn't,
Right.
she wasn't like super big. Her first season of Love and Hip Hop, she wasn't,
Right.
she was okay, but she was still kind of like a side,
Yeah, I mean, she's well known in that world. She was definitely well known though, like
Right.
for the King, XXL, Black Men, Smooth show. She's known. That's how she got on the show. People
Right.
knew her, and she was even on the Kardashian show for a little while.
Right.
On Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or the Miami version of it, at least. But go back again to what percentage would you say comes from the magazine itself?
I mean,
the
that's
sales of
you
that.
have to
Where
be-
does that
you
fit
have
in?
to be more specific. Well, if you're talking about from sales, I mean,
Right. Is it like 10%, or is it still 50, 60, 70%?
No, I mean, I don't think it ever was 50, 60, 70% for us. It was always just been, from a profit standpoint, it's always been like more like around 10% or so.
Wow.
From,
So
from a
where's-
straight revenue standpoint,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the magazine generates, hundreds of thousands of dollars, but that's, you cover your costs with that. So you basically breaking even on the print side unless you're selling advertising, which in this sort of format we really don't sell advertising.
Right. The only thing you advertise is like if you do
Our
a
own
website
products.
for the
We
girl
have-
or something.
This is a catalog. It's an advertisement for what we do, for our brand, for our lifestyle, for the models. So it's a platform basically to introduce our products, which are primarily the models and all the other derivative and ancillary products that we have, like DVDs and our mobile apps and our website.
But let's go through some of them. So you sell DVDs of what, behind the scenes of
We sell
the
DVDs
shoot?
of behind the scenes shoot, but it's mostly like, kind of sexy videos of the girls dancing.
They're like dancing and posing.
Yeah.
Do you sell that literally on DVD? Are people still buying DVDs?
Well, people are still buying DVDs. We haven't produced any new ones
Right.
in a couple of years, just
Right.
because, like you said, I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
I threw my player
I
out.
still have a DVD. Of course, we
Nah.
still have DVD players, but
I threw mine out about 3 years ago. I
Yeah.
just, even when I still had DVDs, I was like, I hate this thing. I just want it was the worst format they ever invented for a media. It's horrible in every way.
so
I was
most of
glad to get
our
rid of it.
videos are probably viewed more now on our website,
Right.
YouTube, etc.
Right, but in terms of revenue streams, we've got DVDs, we've got a website that
I mean,
they pay.
we have probably eight revenue streams right
Right,
now.
but let's run through them. There's a website, because I saw you had some special
Well,
on like
I'll
Instagram.
I'll run through them.
Yeah,
we
let's go
have
through 'em.
Our, what we call single copy sales, which is the newsstand actually purchasing the magazine on the newsstand.
Right.
That's one. The second one, and this is pretty typical for most magazines, at least like 4 or 5 of them. The second one is going to be subscriptions. So those are people who are subscribing to the magazine.
Right.
6 copies for $24 or 12 copies for $44.
Right.
Then we have merchandise. Now, merchandise are going to be back issues,
Mm-hmm.
calendars, DVDs, and whatever other merchandise we're selling. We used to sell T-shirts at some point.
Right.
So that's what 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So number 5 would be mobile. So that means being able to purchase or look at Show Magazine on your mobile phone or on your.
That's the issue, and by the way, I guess you hear these sirens. It's like I'm hoping they can hear
Well,
you.
we're
But
in
this
New
is,
York,
this
so-
is Times Square, man. This is
Yeah,
like
this is
God knows what's going on.
pretty typical.
But go on.
So
what
we
happens
have-
when you
we
buy it
have-
for the phone? What are you getting? The magazine or individual pictures?
Well, you can download the magazine if you buy it from the Zinio app, but you can also just get individual pictures or individual videos.
Right.
Which used to be a really big revenue source for us when we were on the iTunes store. Even just there used to be a lot more companies out there. You remember Jamster? We had like
Right.
a deal with
Right.
Jamster.
But
and
did something happen with that?
Zinni.
Did that like
the
change
business-
for some reason?
Yeah, it's called the App Store.
Right.
It's changed. Number one, Apple kicked out all the sexy publications
Oh,
off
boy.
of iTunes and out of the App Store.
Right.
But the App Store also crushed Jamster and all those other sort of things. Maybe they're bigger in other
Right.
countries. So you can still download pictures
Yeah.
of showgirls in Europe and stuff
Right.
like that.
Remember
but
when
for the-
Steve Jobs said that the iPhone was freedom, and he said it's freedom from all these things. He said freedom from pornography. So he was very anti like pornography and
yeah.
anti-sexy.
And they still are.
Yeah,
They
he-
still are.
yeah.
So that kind of cut down on mobile, but we still
Right.
have some mobile properties out
Right.
there.
Right. What else? The other streams of income.
Okay,
What
so
else?
after mobile, then you have internet-based revenue stream, which is
Right. Mm-hmm.
going to be our website,
Right.
Showgirls Exclusive. We have 6 websites, showgirlsexclusive.com being the biggest one, and that's a
Right.
subscription-based model.
Right.
You could also go to Zinio.com and download Show Magazine, so that counts under internet.
Right.
And then also with if you have a PS3 or a PSP,
Right.
you can download a screensaver. So that's
Right.
internet.
What does that cost? Like a screensaver?
You know what? It's probably like $1.99 or something
not
like
bad.
that. I really don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
But they can
I
add up.
don't have a
It's just-
PS3.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be on Roku and
Right.
I don't know about Apple TV, but we'd be
Yeah,
on
yeah, they may
Roku's
be
as
like-
well,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
where you can download a Show Magazine themed screensaver.
Right.
So that's
cool.
internet. So if you're
Right.
counting, I believe we're up to what, like 6 right
That's
now?
a lot. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's 6.
Keep going.
So number 7 is our new fashion blog that we're starting,
Right.
which is called Showgirls TV, and it's going to be a fashion
Okay.
and lifestyle blog.
We should do something at Fashion Week. I shot a whole bunch
Yeah,
of
I would love
videos
to hire-
at shows.
I would love
Yeah.
to get more lifestyle footage and stuff like
Yeah.
that from both of you guys.
Yeah.
We're not really dealing with like celebrities other than
Yeah.
if they are urban celebrities.
Right. No,
for the
we did
most
some
part,
stuff.
or
I did some stuff
showgirls.
for Hype Hair where we like had a host, and we did video interviews with the nail companies. These I forgot the name of it. God, that's so bad. But we followed these nail people, and then we showed how they did the nails, and we interviewed the nail technician and showed them actually painting the nails backstage at the show.
Okay.
And I'm gonna
That-
send
that
you a
would've
link.
been
It was
great.
good stuff.
Yeah, send me a link. If you
yeah,
have,
it was nice stuff.
If you have
yeah.
more stuff like that that's fashion, beauty, lifestyle, fitness,
Yeah.
travel oriented,
Yeah.
we'd love to have that.
Yeah, that
sort
could be
of,
cool.
We're going to aggregate a lot of this content, and it's basically about what these models do with their clothes on. It's
Mm-hmm. Right.
kind of like, okay,
It's the opposite of show.
yeah, shooting, doing photo shoots is actually like maybe 2 to 5% of what they do.
Right.
But they're doing a lot of stuff. They're hosting
Yeah.
parties. They're traveling internationally.
Yeah.
They're working out.
And they're writing on Instagram the
They're
other
doing
98% of the
cookbooks,
time.
They're doing cookbooks and they're doing a lot of different things. So that's number 7. Number 8 is our agency. We're starting. Well, we have an agency called Show Talent Management, and
Right.
through LA Casting. So that's we're booking models all the time to host parties
Right.
and host events.
What's the price range from the low end of a girl to a high end that they get? And what do they do if they host a party? What does that mean?
I mean, hosting a party primarily. It used to be you promoted the event. you
Like on your Twitter and stuff?
Yeah, Twitter or your
Right.
MySpace. I'm saying used
Right.
to be. You got to the event. You actually got up on stage with the DJ and you talked on the mic and
Right.
you did a whole. You brought people up on stage and you actually signed your calendar or your
Right.
magazine.
Now this sounds
cover.
to me the way it should be. So
That's what it
however you
used
say
to
it
be.
changed, it better be
Yeah,
changed for the better because
now-
that sounded really good to
now
me.
it's you provide an image for a flyer, and that's
Right.
90% of it. I need
Yeah.
a sexy image for the flyer.
Right.
The other 5% of it is you promote the event, and the other 5% is you show up with 5 of your hot girls and you stand on the back of the banquette.
Yeah.
You don't interact with anyone, mind you.
Yeah.
You just stand up so everyone can see you.
Yeah.
and that's hosting a party.
It's terrible because everybody's going to the party, not going to the party for the girl, but they know she's there, and then they're not even like meeting her, talking to her, or even standing near her. That's kind of tacky to me.
So
That's a weird change.
Back to the revenue streams. That was 8, right? You're counting. So actually, we're on the verge of getting to 9 and 10 because number 9 would be miscellaneous, which includes licensing, images, hosting, and bookings. So a hosting is if you pay me to come host a party, you could pay us $1,500, and it could be an official show magazine casting party. A booking is if we just book someone to be a Beyonce's body double during one of her video shoots. So that's different from the LA casting and the show talent management, because that's more about like putting people in commercials and putting them in catalog shoots and that whole sort of thing. So that's
into that
miscellaneous is like number 9, and then number 10, which is going to be coming up, is our TV arm, and we're pitching a reality show out there right now.
Oh, that's cool.
So once that gets into development, then you're looking at like
number 10. And then I know you and I talked about, well, you talked about it, and I'm not trying to say I came up with the idea, but you were talking about the possibility of doing even like a traveling burlesque show one of these days, where like these girls are live in front of you and like dancing and I guess taking off a little bit of clothes or something.
The business, because of Instagram and YouTube, has to change. Like what these models have to offer has to evolve, and we have to evolve. We can't, depend on newsstand revenue or even just digital revenue. So the next evolution is, okay, I've seen these girls in my calendar, I've seen them on YouTube. I want to see them in person now, and not just hosting a party, but I want to see them doing more stuff.
You want to see them doing kind of what they're doing in a magazine, which is being sexy, not just walking a red carpet for 2 seconds and standing with a sparkly bottle of champagne being walked over to them. Yeah, I think that's a huge idea.
Thanks to, thanks to reality TV, you kind of see that now. You kind of see the Tahiris and the Erica Menas and the Brooke Baileys,
Melissa
Fords, doing that transition. So now you can actually see these women doing other stuff. But the difference I'm talking about is interacting with them in person or seeing them on a live show. So that's, that sort of thing's another revenue stream. And another revenue stream, which is why we're here, is been like a really big hit for us, has been photography. I didn't even count that. I'm up to like 11, 12
before
right
you even
now.
get to pictures
before
again.
I even got to photography, and we started that, like April, May.
And this is different. This is where you're actually finding girls who want to look like they're in show magazine, so you're photographing them in a show magazine style.
That, and it's finding girls who want to be models, who want to be in show magazine.
And you're charging them to be photographed.
So, or you could just book a shoot. We've had, like I said, people book maternity shoots, and people book lifestyle shoots and fashion
But that's
shoots.
weird. Like, would you look at the show magazine, would you look at the show magazine photography and go, I want them to do my would you say maternity pictures? Like, I wouldn't think that's a match, though.
Pictures.
I mean, I'm sure you could as a person.
I'm not putting baby oil on the mother.
On the babies?
So it's not looking the same, but it's well lit. It's definitely well lit. We're putting 8 lights on them. So, their hair is lit, and you have the side lights, and you have the light from down below, and, you have the 3 lights in front of them, the octa, the umbrella, and the small octa. So, yeah, it's beautifully lit, but, the retouching is a little different, obviously.
Yeah, not as high gloss or something.
We're not trying to make them, so we're not focusing on, cutting in a waist or doing anything like that. It's not as high gloss, but the photography revenue stream has been tremendous. But what's happened is the business model has changed.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier. We talk about some other photographer going, well, I've got 10 streams of income. I think that's interesting, and for me personally, that's not something that was really on my mind 5 years ago, because just selling pictures was fine. I was making a ton of money just selling photographs and taking assignment jobs, and that's it. But I think it is something to, sort of just keep in mind, the idea of just different revenue streams, and I think you guys do a really good job of that, of really monetizing beyond just a print magazine. It's interesting that you do that.
I know that when I was like probably 3 or 4 years ago, I got into some trouble. My primary source of income was my agency, and unfortunately, I got into a scuffle, and my agency suspended me, and that just totally, shocked my world. Because my main source of revenue was immediately cut off, and that was for 7 months, and I had to
Right.
figure out and reestablish where I could make money, and I kind of gotten comfortable again, and I have to figure out again how I can make money and make sure that that doesn't happen again, because if someone decides to fire me, then what am I going to do? And I never
Right.
want to be in that position.
Right. But I
So
think you
I'm
made a
fascinated.
change too, though, in a sense that I think years ago you were more money focused than you are now. Because I think, like, say, whatever it be, maybe 5 years ago, you were not willing to take even time off to do one type of physical activity like a jujitsu. You just were not willing to. You were like, I'm going to work, I'm going to work, and I'm going to work. And I'm not sure what the change was. Maybe it was losing that source of income and you realizing that it wasn't that important to be making that much money. And I think you, I'm guessing, tell me if I'm wrong, you decide to take a bit of a pay cut, but devote some time to jujitsu, devote some time to hiking, devote some time to yoga. All of those things affect your income, but I personally think you're better off that way, being more well-rounded and not just money focused, but being focused on personal development is huge.
I think personal development is very important, and that's definitely something that I was lacking. But I think that the primary reason was the economy change. I mean, like in 2008, everyone was complaining and crying, and me included. So my lifestyle had to change. Like I was making significantly less money, and I've realized that I don't necessarily need to make the same amount of money to be happy. I just have to be more focused. I have to understand what makes me happy. It's
Right.
not the money.
Right.
It's having purpose. And I love listening to other people like Sean. Listening to Sean and having 11 revenue streams, I'm like,
Yeah.
I got to get my game up. I gotta
Right, it makes
step
your head
up,
spin,
step
right.
up.
Yeah, you're
I
like,
can't get
yeah.
caught out there again.
Right, that is crazy.
But in my own way.
Right.
So that makes sense. to
Right,
me.
of course.
I can't go balls out and just
No, you have to do
concentrate on
your
money
thing. You
again.
can't manage models for booking for party. That's not going to be you. But there is something you could be doing. And you even took some
You
yoga
train
training.
models.
Hey, there you go. But he just took yoga training. He took this training thing of how to teach I guess it's the hot yoga. So,
Well, let me.
yeah, that's
I mean,
a possibility
One
for
of
you.
the, and I want to talk more about like how this business model has changed, not just
Right.
for us, but the models in the business in general. But I want to reiterate something that I said in my first podcast with you, which I don't,
Right.
I don't know, 19.
I don't know that, is it 19? I can't remember the
I don't
number,
know.
but it's easy to find. Search John Ricard, Sean Cummings, camera work. And I think it's really good discussion because I think you have a great honesty when you talk with us. I love
One of
that.
the great and ironic things is that, you know, since we started show, you know, I went from working with several photographers, of which one was John and Ray that I
Right.
worked with when I was the editor at Smooth Magazine,
Right.
and had close working relationships, to working with just one photographer for like 6 or 7 years.
Right. Do you
So
want to
the
name him or?
ironic- it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But the ironic thing is that now that I'm doing photography,
Right.
I'm actually back to working with other photographers and other people like Ray and John. And I go
Right.
to Detroit, you know, and I'll work with Tragan, and I'll go to
Right.
Miami, and I'll work with another photographer, you know, with
Right.
Robin, and rent her studio and
Right.
hire her to assist me. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things with doing this new fashion blog that we're going to be doing is going to allow me to even work more with you guys.
Oh,
and
that's
hire
cool.
you guys.
Good,
And
good.
If Ray wants to do a trainer, we're going to do fitness segments, and I could
Right.
totally see, you know, him doing a fitness segment with one of the. We could even do something like that tomorrow, real quick.
Yeah.
We bring a model up and have her, you know, okay, Ray, just. You know, the videos are 4 or 5 minutes.
Right.
So why don't you just show her some jujitsu moves? Of course, it, you know, it has to be still sexy or whatever.
Right, right.
So, but you know, so that's
Yeah.
great. So we're
Yeah.
we're looking forward to working with even more people. But
Right.
just talking about the business model, it's changed for it's changed for us in a sense that, you know, these models are kind of like helping to subsidize the cost of printing up this magazine, because although you have Instagram and Twitter, which has really kind of changed the game in a sense
Right.
that people don't have to buy print magazines anymore, models still need to be printed to be legitimized. Someone still has to co-sign them, and putting them in a publication
Right.
changes them from an Instagram model to, you know,
It's huge.
you're a model.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like with the record company where the album, like even old bands, like these old bands like the Eagles, they still make new albums. They won't play the songs in concert.
Right.
Nobody cares about the new album, but for some reason, it is important
Or
to
the-
still keep making new albums.
Right.
All those old
or,
groups.
Or I think a better analogy or equivalent analogy, you know, from my standpoint, would be, okay, you can have a mixtape all you want. 50 Cent made
Yeah.
mixtapes and sold a
Right.
bunch, but he
Right.
wasn't, big until he actually had a studio produced album.
Right, and even
So-
artists they still want the album on a major label, because you get guys like a Chief Keef who has a following kind of on his own. He still wants to be connected to Universal
Right.
Records for some reason. That
Right.
legitimacy.
Yeah,
People still want
as
that.
a model, you can have 50,000 Instagram followers off of selfies, but
Right.
if you want to be considered a legitimate model and kind of break, to the next level, you kind of need to be published in the magazine. So what we're saying is, look, you can be Erica Mena and you could come to me with 500,000 followers, or you could be Dre and have 1 million Instagram followers,
Right.
or you can wait 3 years till you get to that following. But if you don't have 3 years to wait,
Right.
or you don't have 500,000 followers, you can
Right.
invest in your own career. Instead of taking that trip to Miami or buying a pair of $1,500 shoes you can only wear once or twice,
Right.
invest in a photo shoot.
Right.
I'm the photographer, so we're going to give you show type images, and guess what? If we like them, we have the opportunity to publish them because that's my decision. Now, you're
Right.
not paying to be in the magazine. You're paying for pictures that you own.
Yeah.
You own these
But I
images.
actually don't envy you with them knowing you make that decision, because then they're all like, put me in a magazine, and what you have to say, like, no, you don't look good enough. I don't envy that part of it.
Here's what we do. If you visually qualify, and I've had some models who don't visually qualify,
Right.
but if you visually qualify, because what you have to understand, the show started off with new models. That was the whole idea. When we launched Show Magazine, it was about introducing you to that next new model.
Right.
It wasn't about, I purposely stayed away from other, more established models because I had to differentiate our product. And I liked working with new models. I liked breaking new models who had,
Yeah.
there was no Twitter or Instagram
Yeah.
back there. So the way you discovered a new model was you either saw her in a music video like
Right.
Esther Baxter once,
Right.
or you went to your newsstand every Tuesday and picked up the new copy of Show or what
Yeah.
have you and said, oh my God.
Right, but and that's funny thing, because I started off shooting Black Men magazine for a couple of years in like 2001. For a couple of years, I shot. What was that noise?
I don't know. It's the plastic of your something.
Okay, all right. But anyway, I was shooting Black Men, and in the beginning, we were shooting the girls first. We would find great girls, and then the music video directors were looking through Black Men magazine and saying, we want this girl in our video. But as the years passed, it started flipping around to where a girl would be the lead in a Nelly video, and then we were shooting her because she was in a music video. And I thought that wasn't as cool as us finding the girls. Like Abiba Davis is a model that the first thing she ever shot was in my living room, and I brought her to Black Men. And she did Black Men, and then she got into music videos. And I always thought that was cooler than the girl was the girl in a Nelly video, and then we shot her.
No,
You
I
know?
mean, it still works both ways, but how cool is it to see a girl in a video and then, video is like 3 minutes, it's very fleeting, you can't really get a sense of her
Yeah, you
personality.
gotta pause it.
But then you see her in the magazine and you get the interview and then, know,
Right.
where you can see more pictures of her.
Yeah, you love those interviews where they all say the
Exactly.
guys like their eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah, no guy likes your eyes. I'm sorry to break the news to you. We don't even know you have eyes. I'm sorry. All you girls at Show Magazine.
I've assisted on Sean's shoots, and I think that the stuff that he's doing is genius. I think that the business model is genius, and I just can't compliment enough. It's like, wow, this is, and we talk about it, John and I talk about, this is a vision. This is something that he's built, that he's crafted for years, and made sure that
Right.
it's specific to him, and the things that he's producing, they're all ancillary, so they're all related to each other. So it's not like a reach. It's not like you're doing
Right.
a cookbook, but you
Right.
can.
It makes sense. It's
it-
connected.
It's connected, so it's not you're not overextending yourself, and you're still making money,
Yeah, well,
or
now
the
he's-
opportunity to make a
he's
lot
focused
of money.
on
So
that.
It's
But-
definitely. I'm more props to you.
Thank
I
you.
commend
Right. Tell us something about shooting the girls in terms of, like, when you're shooting the pretty girl thing. Does that ever get old? Does it ever get tired?
No, well-
or is it always
Well,
fun?
let me just first finish the point that I was trying to make as far as like the business model. That's how it relates to us. How it relates to the models is, again, you can invest in your own career and you can say, look, I want to be published. Here's a great opportunity for me to skip a few steps. And I know what being published means. It's going to lead to more revenue for me. It's an investment. So we're helping them with that investment. As far as shooting the models, and shooting a beautiful woman or working with beautiful women, like it never gets old. It's
Right.
definitely a
I
stretch.
agree with that.
It's definitely a stretch, and it's amazing how much of a better photographer you are, the hotter the model is. Because I doubt myself sometimes when I'm shooting
Right.
women who just aren't photogenic or who just don't know how to model, and they're
Right.
definitely two different things.
Right.
But when I get like a model who like a savvy or someone who is really beautiful and they know what they're doing, like a Sasha Devalier,
Right.
you're like, man, I'm good.
Right,
You know,
right,
because
right.
she's on point and she knows that the angles are ready, and you're really just kind of there pressing a button.
Right.
But for me, shooting is just a part of it, and it's allowing me to get back to the stuff that I really love, which was just discovering and developing new talent.
Right.
Shooting is a very small part of it. It's actually very tedious, and again, unless you're dealing with like a Erica Mena or Sin Santana, who's naturally photogenic and they're talented models,
Yeah, it can be work.
it definitely
Yeah,
is work,
yeah.
and I find myself, being lazy about it sometimes or whatever.
Right.
But now I'm like, you know what? I want to develop my craft. I want to be better at what I'm
Right.
doing. And I was shooting in my studio in LA for a long time without flags, and I was getting a lot of flare. And the retoucher would be like,
Right.
"Man, you're getting flare."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, let me just put these flags up because
Right.
she could fix the flare." But
Right.
now I'm like, no, I want to fix everything in
You want to,
camera.
you want to do it right. You want to.
So
be,
so I'm definitely transitioning I don't even still call myself a photographer, because I mean, I think that's an insult to kind of to you guys. I know I'm a producer and I have a certain style, and
Right.
but as a technician, I'm no photographer, not yet.
Right.
I mean, I was
Right.
probably, as a kid
Right.
growing up a little bit better, 'cause I
Right.
took classes and all that
Right.
stuff.
No, I think
But,
I would say the
I would
reason.
consider you a photographer.
Yeah, no, I would say, like, a lot of people would say you're a photographer because you're making money selling photos. That wouldn't matter to me as much, because the guy who shoots
Yeah, but taking
my daughter's
pictures
class
doesn't
pictures.
make you a photographer.
No, but
per
I'm gonna tell you what
se.
does. I'll tell you what does for you is the fact that you have a vision.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the lighting, like I'm telling you, people were saying to me directly, "You shot that, right, John?" Or like,
What do you mean, like the pictures from Instagram or something? Or?
yeah, when I was first posting like on Instagram that you were shooting in my studio and I was taking these behind the scenes pictures, there were a couple of people who were like Instagramming me or tweeting or even direct messaging me, texting me, going like, "Look, John, you're the guy who's actually shooting that magazine, right? Not Sean," because people didn't know you as a photographer. People knew you as a producer of, editor rather, of Show Magazine and Smooth Magazine, but not as a picture taker, photographer. So they assumed if you were in my studio, I was telling you, "Look, here's how you light it, Sean. Let me set the camera up and you push the button." And I had to tell them, "No, Sean lit that. I physically put the lights where you said to put them. Yeah, I literally put the softbox on the light. But that was your vision of where to put that softbox." And like I said, Ray is right here to vouch for it, because Ray helped me set up the lights that day, and Ray and me both were going, "This lighting makes no sense to
And
us,"
Sean,
but it
I
did.
mean, and that was your lighting setup, and John wouldn't set it up the same way because it's
Right.
just it's.
He didn't
like,
even
no.
remember how to reset
Yeah,
it.
it didn't even make sense to me in the beginning, though. Remember, I kept going, "This
You thought
makes
it
no
was wrong.
sense." Yeah, I thought it was wrong, but I'm like, if the dude wants me to do it this way, he's paying me a couple bucks to assist him, I'm gonna light it the way he wants to light it. But it did make sense. It did.
And that's why you're a photographer, and that's
Right.
that's actually that hyper realism or whatever.
Hyper exposed, I think he calls it,
hyper-exposure
something.
is the stuff that the last 50 Cent albums were, where it's like almost animation. There's also
Yeah.
a magazine called Associated Press where they would see
Right.
like a lot of alternative groups using that style. And then there was
Right.
the guy, I don't know.
Oh no, you see a lot of people ripping it. If you have like Instagram and you follow a certain type of model, yeah, you see a lot of people trying to rip that
I want
off.
to show
though.
you and Ray, like this is a perfect example of like what I'm talking about. So this is an image.
So again, we're looking at this
So
if
that's
you're on
an
our
image
YouTube version.
that I shot, right? And this is after I'm looking at the images and they seem like really hyper exposed.
Right.
Okay, so
And we're
I
looking
kind
at-
of
what was
made
that picture, though?
adjustments.
That was who is this person? No, what is her name?
Her name is Yasmin Estrada. She's a
Oh, okay. So you could probably
a
find that
model.
picture on his Instagram.
So, but then, and Ray, I'll show you the image, okay?
Right.
But then, and this is a good image. I mean, it's like, but I prefer this, which is hyper exposed.
see
And
what
you
we're looking
guys
at.
are
Let me
like,
hold it
wow,
together.
that's too
Yeah,
bright.
now we're looking at a
And
picture
and
of-
looks-
who is this
her
person?
name is Miss VA.
So if you want to find it, if you're looking on
On the,
iTunes, this is a
on the-
technically overexposed picture,
Yeah,
but
on
it just
the
works.
Shoulder, on the back, I would be like, oh wow, I would be dialing it back down. And
Right,
I would be doing things
right.
that were different, but that's your vision.
Right.
And
Right.
if you're the client, at the end of the day, the client is right.
Right.
So
Oh, of course.
if you're-
Whoever's
if
cutting
you're
my
the
check is
client,
I just like that. It
Yeah,
looks very
yeah.
animated to me.
Yeah, no, it works.
And
Like I said,
what's
it's
so
a-
funny
it's a
about that
look.
is one of my competitors, you know, on one of his Instagram things, like he actually said something like that, like, "Oh, you got these cartoony images with the baby oil," and I'm like, you know, first you're taking offense because someone is trying to insult you, but I'm like, no, you got it right on. Like, I like the animated look, and I
Right.
like the girls to look shiny. They're not looking like extra shiny, like, you know, Hype Williams did in Belly. Where,
Right.
You know, they
Oh,
had
that was beautiful. That
Vaseline
Terrell
on the
Hicks.
models.
God,
Right.
Terrell
It's not
Hicks.
to
Oh my God, that was
extent Where
gorgeous.
you're like, this
Yeah.
is crazy looking,
Yeah.
but I don't like looking at images where there's no reflection, where it's just
Right.
flat. I mean, not
Right.
for glamour. Glamour to me is glossy.
Right.
You know, you see like, you know, just light bouncing off of, you know, every part of them.
Right.
You know?
Again, that's your vision, which is great.
Right.
So that's what makes you a photographer in my eyes. And even people I follow on Instagram who are doing phone pictures, if they have a clear vision, I look at them and I'll be showing Ray people's phone pictures. I'm like, this person has a vision. And I think it's not understood by a lot of photographers what that is, what it means, but it's basically like your way of seeing the world and how that translates into your photographs. And I understand my vision, and it took me a long time to understand it. And I even understand yours. You have a distinct vision of how you see glamour photography. It doesn't match my vision at all, and that's the beauty of it, because I would shoot it totally different. And you're fortunate because you're your own client, so you're able to produce your vision and throw that out to the world.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, we can all do it through Instagram. It's just if you have a real platform like Show, you've got a much better
Yeah.
chance of getting an actual audience. And
Yeah, and it's the same
it's
vision
fantastic.
it's the same vision I've been producing from day one, and it's evolved and with a
Right.
couple other photographers, but now I get to execute my vision. So
Right.
it's a great feeling, but putting myself in photographer's shoes, I get a little bit more now of, you know, how they used to kind of complain when you put like a not so attractive girl in front of them.
Yeah, right, and then you're supposed to make her
or
look
if you want
amazing or
them
something.
or you want them to shoot straight through lunch or 12 hours straight, and I kind of get it now, and I want to apologize to, you know, Nick and other people that I've worked with, because I used to be like, man, just shoot. What's the difference? Like, but no, like when you get a beautiful girl and a talented model, you're inspired. And you're like, wow, and you like what you get when you press that button, and it makes such a huge difference. But, you know, we're about opportunities, and we're about people who want to take their success into their own hands and partner in with us, you know, for their own success. So if you want to, you know, save up some money and say, hey, I want to do this great shoot, and it's going to help me in my career, can you help us get published? Then of course I'm going to do it, and I guarantee you, and I don't think I'm the first person to do this, and we're not journalists.
Right.
You know, so there's no like integrity issues or
Yeah, I'm
anything
glad
like
I'm not a
that.
journalist.
And I know you have some people who've kind of been doing it indirectly before us, and I know you have some people over here who are probably looking down at us for even making these opportunities available for models. But
Right.
I guarantee you, they're going to be doing it. You know, they're going to be doing it themselves soon enough if they haven't done it yet. I mean, even when I was, you know, with Smooth Magazine, I remember us allowing record labels to pay for photo shoots.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, this has been happening like way, but like,
yeah, the
what's
magazines had no
difference?
choice at a point because they weren't
Right.
making any money.
Yeah, what's
so-
the difference between an artist paying for a photo shoot than a model paying for a photo
Right.
shoot? They're still trying to promote their own careers.
Just trying to get in the magazine. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wanted to add was that, like, I stepped inside to pick up a gi during a John Ricard photo shoot, and I certainly would never put baby oil on Mary Mary, or I don't think the next guy we shoot Mary Mary would be
No.
like, you know, having them in bikinis. But that, I mean,
No,
that's
you gotta be
singularly,
different.
It's like,
Yeah.
they're women,
Yeah.
but it's whatever whatever your vision is, whatever the client.
Yeah, you got to
wants,
do it, and it's funny because,
making
like you
sure
said, I
that
just
it's
shot Mary Mary maybe like 3 days ago. I was afraid to even put on music because I know they're religious. I know what they were going to play, and all we've been playing is that new Beyonce album. You know, I have the videos, and you play that, no work gets done in the studio. Everybody, all the hair and makeup girls just stop, and everybody starts staring at the Beyonce videos. But for Mary Mary, I didn't even want to put that on. I'm just like, you guys put your own music on because I know there's no religious music in my playlist. So
I mean, I think did you put the Beyonce stuff on? Because
no, they didn't. No, we never had Beyonce on that
I
day.
would have put it because the producers, like the guys who produced the husbands of Mary Mary, produced I guess secular or non-secular or whatever. they produce regular music.
Right.
And-
Well, I didn't want to
and,
take a chance. You know, I'm still trying to get over the time Lupe Fiasco, yelled at me with his eyes for putting on Trina years ago. Okay, I put on Trina. He was looking at me like I was crazy. You know.
when was that? Because
That was
a
the
long
first
time.
time I shot him, and we did not connect. The second time I shot him, I was a
Yeah.
huge fan of his. I love all three of his albums. I love them. But the second time I shot him, we connected really well. But that first time, it was not
Yeah.
pretty. From that moment on, the whole shoot, we just lost it. You know.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy when you
Yeah.
when you can make a connection, and that's another
Yeah.
thing we have to talk about is I know I haven't done it in a long time, but just connecting with the subject, because I know that lately the stuff that I do, there's no connection. I'm
Really?
shooting with the
Right.
300, I'm shooting with the 70 to 200,
Right.
and they would never know that I was there, or they would acknowledge that I was there, and they would just like, I got to put up with this effort.
Yeah, there's times where that can be. There's times where that can be fun to kind of shoot without the interaction. And I know, like when I shot BET, when I was covering the actual show, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to be invisible. They were filming a live television program, and I'm just documenting what happens there. I don't want any interaction. And there can be a kind of like solitude, a kind of peace to that, to not have to interact with people. But to me, the real challenge for me in photography is when I'm in my studio and I have you standing on what is literally a gigantic sheet of paper. There is nothing natural about this. There is no moment happening. And I've got to create something here. And even like when Sean's doing his thing, there's nothing sexy about this. There's 50 people in a room, music is blasting, there's people doing hair and makeup, there's people on the computers, people walking in, my super's coming in and out, making up excuses to see the pretty girls. You know, there's
The girls are pretty.
oh, yeah, there you go. I don't blame him. But there's all of this stuff, and then we're telling you, like, be sexy, and you're kneeling on a concrete floor. You know, like the floor's dirty, you got oil on, you've been here 10 hours, like, but you've got to make something sexy. And I know when I'm shooting, whether it's the sexy girl or an artist, again, you're just standing on a giant sheet of paper, and I've got to create something interesting, and it's a real challenge, and I love it. And I have a lot of respect for people who can pull that off. And I personally, and I know this is wrong, I have less respect for the people who think they accomplished something because they shot a good concert photo. And I used to think that was a big deal when I nailed a great concert shot. But we reached a point where anybody can do it because the cameras were so good, and all you're doing is pushing a button. It's easy. You look at what they shoot at BET without me, when you're talking about how they cover the show, it looks just like when I covered it, because anybody can stand there and shoot the show. Now, my backstage stuff was impeccable. Nobody can touch what I did backstage at BET. Nobody. I'll put that on record. Nobody can touch what I did at backstage at BET. It was incredible. With my Leica, it was incredible. But because that was my vision, it was a lot of decisions I was making about how to cover that, how to shoot that. But the show, anybody can shoot it. So I think the challenge for anybody and the challenge for you is to be in here and to be interacting with the talent and pulling out what you want. Because like we said a bunch of times in this podcast, you would not light it the way Sean would light it. You might not pose it the way Sean. And the posing too, because I would actually ask you about the posing, Sean.
I certainly don't do the same stuff to you. It terrifies me. It terrifies me to do that. Like I just like to stay in the cut. And if I had a 500, if I had 1,000, I'd just be like banging it out.
Right. Nah, no desire to do that.
But
I want my
you know,
35 or my 50
Yeah,
on
and
my
that's
little
why I get
Leica.
mad at when I work sometimes with John. I was like, "Get the f out of the way! You're blocking my shots. You're
'Cause
taking
I'm
money
close,
out of my
right.
pocket. But you're taking money out of my pocket because your body is in the way. You're
Right.
like get out.
Right,
get
but
out."
that's why I like having my
Yeah.
own studio, because I don't have to worry about being in anybody's way. But I was going to ask you a question about posing, because sometimes it almost seems like with Show Magazine that the posing is sort of I don't know, almost like, I don't know what the word would be.
What do you call it in gymnastics when everyone compulsories? That's the term I've always used. Again, when
Like
we
mandatory poses, in other words.
well, is that what compulsory means?
Yeah, it would be the same thing. You have to do it. But I'm going to ask you
Okay.
something different. But explain that first.
Well, the way compulsory means to me is something that everyone could be judged on equally. So in gymnastics, you all have to do the same exercises, and you're judged based on that. So you could be judged equally. So you could kind of compare someone from 10 years ago, Nadia Comaneci from 20 years ago, to a Gabby Douglas, a couple
Right.
years ago, because they did the exact same routine. With Show Magazine, again, when you're starting a new brand and you're launching a new product, it's about how do you differentiate something.
Right.
Okay, well, let me find something I'm passionate about and let's kind of implement that. And I've always been passionate about pinup, and because of my OCD, I love symmetry. You know,
Right.
so some of the poses and even the lucite furniture that we've used and the stool and, you know, it's always been classic show. So we have show poses. If you see someone else doing a stool shot where they're sitting on a stool,
Right.
where, you know, their shoulders are perfectly square as their hips and
Right.
their head is, you know, a profile, you know that that's a show magazine shot
Right.
if you see it anywhere else. Now, I developed that particular pose with Melissa Ford when I did a shoot for Smooth
Right.
magazine, and I researched and we did all these pinup poses. So there's a lot of stuff that I kind of developed over there and I took with me. Even
Right.
the lucite furniture and shooting on the color
Right.
paper.
Which again, this is vision, by the way.
I developed
That's
that
all vision.
with, you know, Mark Mann. That was,
Right.
you know, he took me to a studio and they had lucite furniture
Right.
and he was shooting all these bad boy images on like white paper or color paper. We had never
Right.
done that before.
Right.
And I was like, wow, this is economically viable. It's different. And I love colors and I love pink and, you know, and then these images are going to be great digitally because there's no cluttered background. There's no
Right.
waterfall. There's no wrapper. There's no car. So we
Right.
could do whatever we want with these images. So the show poses developed that way as well. You know, whether I was working with, you know, Nick Salambenny and,
Right.
you know, having girls pull their panties back and we just continued to
But what
kind
you're
of
saying,
do
so you'll
that.
repeat that pose with the next model,
Right,
maybe another model,
right,
so then we can compare
because-
them.
So then now you can look at a Tamika Freeman from issue 4, or you could look at a Jessica Maximus from issue 8 and compare her to a Yara Sanchez and say, well, she not only did that pose better, meaning she's a better model, but she
Right.
also looked better. So she executed it better, and then visually it looks
Right.
better. You know, so
Right.
I could tell you who ever did the. Like I have this stool shot coming up with Tahiri,
Right.
you know, that is just gonna like kill every other.
Is that my stool
shot
from the one you did here?
Yeah, from your stool because
Ah, cool.
it curves in like a saddle.
Yeah,
so
that's
it
why
kind
we
of
got it.
frames and shapes her butt, you know. But one of the reasons why we have similar poses, like straddling the box, is because we've always shot with the same furniture.
Right.
So you get the same furniture. There's but certain things that you know
Right.
straddle that clear chair.
Right.
So everyone who comes into the studio
Right.
now, like they want to shoot on that clear chair, or they want to do
Right.
their, you know, Ani Love pose on the box.
Right.
you
I don't know how keen I'd be to want to put my butt on the same butt chair that 10 other girls did,
Yeah,
but
but you'd
whatever.
like those butts that was been on the chair to be on you, so it's
Whatever.
kind of the same thing.
I'm showing my ring to the camera now. Anyway, but the thing is do you sometimes pick girls for show, almost like in an anatomical sense of just like, well, she has a big chest or she has a big butt, rather than like she's super pretty or she's super sexy? Or is it inherently sexy and pretty if she has a big butt or a
of
big
course,
breast?
everyone does, because just like when I Instagram certain pictures, you get more likes if she has. I think boobs kind of leads it, like regardless, and
Right.
then butt. So
Right.
a pretty face helps as well, but if you have some nice cleavage under the pretty face,
Right.
then that's even better. So this is the business. Of course, what you look like anatomically is gonna rise above the rest. But
Right.
we have people that fall in love with just a beautiful face, and she doesn't really need to have a body either. But
Right.
if you get a Dalicia Bryant or a Jessica Maximus, who both have beautiful faces and great bodies,
Right.
then yeah, you
That's
know,
the triple threat or
again,
something.
Yeah, and again,
Right.
you know, you look at, you know, a Sin Santana and you look at a Erica Mena, like Sin Santana is more of like a triple threat because she's a beautiful face. She has a great set, you know, a rack or boobs,
Right.
and she has a booty, you know.
Right.
And you look at Erica Mena. Erica Mena has her own assets because she has nice boobs, she's a beautiful face, and she's a great model.
Right.
You know, but she's not known for her butt or anything like
Right.
that. Well, maybe now she is, but in the
Why?
past,
Did she do something to her butt?
I don't know, but
Okay.
she has like a nice butt right
Okay.
now. But in the past, that wasn't, you know, why you booked Erica Mena. You didn't
Right.
book her because
yeah,
of her
she always had
butt.
the big rack and very pretty face.
Right,
like-
and
yeah,
she's a
great
great
face. Mm-hmm.
model. She's actually like a good fashion model as well.
Yeah, face-wise, she could have pulled off any beauty campaign, like without a doubt. But that whole throwing plates at people thing, I don't know how far that'll get you when you're on the set of a real, you know, commercial shoot. And you're,
What makes it real? Getting paid? Because she's
well,
getting
who the
paid.
client is and whether they're going to tolerate. I mean, in other words, she works a job where it's okay to throw a plate and they will still
Right.
hire you week after week. We're talking about Love and Hip Hop, but
Right.
but there's certain places you go where if you throw a plate, they may not call
Yeah,
you
but
back again.
what's your point?
Yeah.
What? I'm just saying, I'm not sure how well that. I'm saying she has a face that's strong enough to be able to do like whatever,
To do
Clairol
what?
ad
No,
or something
that's
like
not
that.
That's not how it works. Having
What?
a face to do Clairol is not enough. You have to be like, a size 0.
Oh, I know,
or you
of
have
course.
to be
right.
Beyonce.
No, I'm just
So-
saying what her face looks like.
But that's just her
all,
face.
though.
That's not
right.
the opportunities it's afforded her.
Right.
You know?
And I don't even
Right.
think, I just don't even think that some of these ladies need those campaigns or need those clients, because you look at Kim Kardashian, she's just made a revenue stream out of just being seen.
Right.
And
Right.
she's got, and just all these other ladies being seen, being popular, being I guess just being of interest, and they've been able to monetize that. So
Right.
they're not trying to wait for Obama to give them an
No,
unemployment check. They are
no.
making
Yeah,
a
again, I
lot
think
of
it's
money.
the first time in history that so many people are able to market themselves rather than selling a product or something you can sell yourself. It's an amazing time. But we're going to wrap in a couple of minutes, but I want to try something really quick and see if we're able to do this, okay? So, I've kind of largely abandoned Twitter in the last year or so. I find that 140 character limitation is really frustrating for me to have to rephrase what I want to write to fit into 140 characters. So I find I don't post there a lot. And I think Twitter is really best for like sharing links and things, and I'm not that interested in that. So I'm on Instagram pretty often, and I do enjoy it, although I don't tend to get like a lot of likes and a lot of interaction, but I do enjoy posting on Instagram. And I'm on Facebook, which is a little bit more personal. Just about everybody who follows me on Facebook knows me personally. But Sean is a person who seems to work social media very well, the Twitter and the Instagram feed for Showmag IG, and I'm not sure what it is for Twitter, but it does well. It gets retweets, it gets attention, it gets noticed, it helps him book shoots. Now, Ray is in a completely third category where he's not really on Twitter, he's not on Instagram, and I think you just said you got off Facebook even, correct?
Yeah, but what's fascinating is that when I help, when I assist Sean, and I take pictures and he posts them on his Instagram, I like that attention with the pictures.
Right, it's super
Yeah,
cool.
It's like, oh, people are commenting on the pictures, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow, it makes me want to step up my game and take better,
Right.
more sexy pictures of these ladies in action.
Well, there's a
But
lot of content,
I don't
though.
know how to produce any other stuff for
Well,
it.
no, but I mean, there's a lot of content that can get you attention on Instagram or generate likes. It doesn't have to be sexy girls. Of course, that's one way that works, but it's certainly not the only route. There's a ton. Again, Jeremy Coward, has got a ton of people following his Instagram, and there's no sexy girls there. But since Ray is concurring that it might be cool to be doing Instagram, but I was about to say, how would you, Sean, convince someone, any photographer, why they should be embracing social media or how they might embrace Instagram to make it worthwhile for
Well,
them?
I mean,
How would you say that? Because it does
I'd
work
like
for you.
to try to convince you.
I'm on
who
there.
cares
What do you
about
want me
other
to do?
photographers?
I'm on there.
John, have you ever listened to yourself? Do you listen to these podcasts?
Every
You're
one of
very
them, yes.
cynical.
They're very fascinating.
You're very cynical. You're very skeptical, and you like to
Right.
harp on things. That's not.
That's the podcast.
That's not.
Welcome to Camera
Okay,
Work.
that's okay. So we'll just have 1,000 listeners forever then.
Hey,
because that's not
would
not
be an
going to help you
improvement.
grow your audience.
Right. But but go on. I do. I mean, I do like you, for example, the last time you were on, you mentioned, I mentioned to you that with Instagram, for example, I don't tend to post my real work. On Instagram, I'd put the BTS shot. I might put my daughter, myself, my wife, but not the real shot. Since we spoke, I do tend to put the real shot. I put tear sheets up there if I get something published in a magazine. I put that up there.
Okay.
If I do a shot that I've retouched of an artist, I say I shot August Alsina, I'll put that final shot on my Instagram. You would say, oh, Instagram should be like the John Ricard archive. So I do that now. I mean, it doesn't really produce any true results. In fact, the likes aren't any greater than they were before. There's no job offers, whatever, but I do take the advice. So I actually do, despite all my ranting and complaining, I do listen to people and take advice.
Well,
I listen to the podcast and take advice from it.
The opportunity is that the genre that you're a part of and the industry that you're a part of
Right.
is a little bit definitely more kind of sexually driven and
Right.
lifestyle driven. So you
Right.
have to take pictures. You're a great street photographer, so
Right.
and you have to make it interesting. Do a series on sneakers. Do
I
a
hate
series
sneakers.
on PDA. Public displays of affection. I mean,
That's the main
be-
thing I shoot. That's
Right.
what I shoot for
But
street.
I'm saying, but I
is
haven't
that.
seen that on like your Instagram.
It's been
so it
there.
has to be a little bit more interesting. You've
Right.
taken tons of pictures of celebrities and rappers and singers
Right.
and your BET stuff. Why
Right.
isn't that on your Instagram?
Some of it is, but
Okay.
not
well,
a lot of it.
You have to invest
You know.
time in it. You have to follow other people. You have to be regular with it. Like, how many
Right.
posts do you have on your Instagram right now? Like 200 maybe?
Oh no, it's a lot. No, I've
Like
got
how many? What's
a
a lot
ton.
to you?
I can't look because we're
What's a
using the
ton?
phone for something,
Okay,
but
I'm
it's
just telling you
thousands,
two-
I'm sure. No, it's a lot. But
Thousands?
yeah.
Okay, well-
I don't know if I don't know. It's a lot of pictures. I don't know.
Okay.
It's a whole bunch of stuff. The only thing that anybody cares about on my Instagram is pictures of my daughter. I could put my daughter. Here's my daughter going to yoga. Everybody loves it. You know. Oh, here's whatever August Alsina, and nobody cares. You know. Here's a street picture. Hashtag like it. Nobody fucking cares. They just want to see my daughter.
Okay,
That's
well,
all.
look at it's the audience you're coming. I'm sure other photographers. Are you a part of photography forums? What audience are you trying to get?
Well, that's one of the things I think with my personal Instagram feed is that mine is divided. There's people
Is it
who-
private?
No, definitely not. No, but there's people who know me from, say, jujitsu. People who just know me from family. People who followed me because they saw me post your content, the BTS from show. People who found me taking BET pictures. So mine's kind of spread out, whereas yours is probably a lot of people who like looking at pretty, sexy girls. So it's kind of consistent. So for me, you know, if I put up something music related, the people who followed me because they saw a street picture don't care, and if I put up a jujitsu picture, the BET people don't care. You know, I've got like
Well, then you need
6
to
or
keep
7
your
different
jiu-jitsu
audiences.
pictures on
you know.
Facebook, which is a little
You
bit
know.
more personal,
Right.
and just be more specific and more targeted with your Instagram, depending on who you're trying to attract.
Right.
It can't be all over the place because, like you said,
Yeah, mine is very all
you're
over
gonna
the
have
place.
people come
Yeah.
looking for a specific thing, and they're not
Right.
going to find it. They're going to unfollow you.
Yeah, I always laugh because, like Ray was saying, when we, like, again, because when you do your show magazine here, I'll tend to shoot some BTS pictures of you shooting
Right.
the girls. And I put that on my Instagram, and you put it on your Instagram. And then I get all these new followers, and I'm always laughing, like, these guys are going to hate the feed next week when you're not here providing all these girls. The feed's going to be totally different.
Well,
They're not going
spread
to be
them
the least
out.
bit interested.
Spread them out. Take more pictures and spread them out.
Right, I guess. I
You
don't know if I can
or
please
just
those
focus
people.
more on, what you're trying to do.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
and understand that it's going to be a smaller audience, so it's not going to help
Right.
you. It's not going to help you get new clients or professionally. but
Right.
You can still kind of, I think, be
Right.
very targeted with who you're trying to reach.
Right. I mean, it
through-
works a
through
little bit.
Instagram.
Like I said, I think when something like that unique photo seminar that I did, I know there were people there that knew me specifically. It wasn't just like, oh, random photographer with a topic. They were like, oh, John Ricard is presenting, and they knew me from like Instagram or Twitter. So it works to some degree, and some people are listening to the podcast, but we'd always like that to
Do
grow.
you book jobs? I mean, this is talking to you, Sean. Do you book jobs because of your Instagram? I would
Yes.
say yes.
I'm gonna answer that already.
I just booked a couple jobs while we were doing this podcast because I'm on Instagram.
He's got his
Instagram-
phone there. Look, I'm
I
moving
just
the camera.
Instagram.
Hope we can't read your phone. I don't know if that's
Well,
bad.
I'm
but
just getting to. I just
Yeah, go there.
Instagram a couple. This picture that I just showed you. So advertising that we're shooting here at John Ricard Studio tomorrow. So we'll probably have at least like one person. But
Genius.
if you're asking me primarily, is that how we get business these days as far as the photography aspect? I would say probably like 75%. The other 25% is probably referrals, meaning that they saw someone post a picture on Instagram.
Right.
So of course, that's just
Yeah.
our main.
Yeah, it works for him,
And
so,
we have
you
a
know.
lot of models who are shooting just for the Instagram pictures. You don't have to shoot and then hope to get published or do the 3 looks and guarantee publishing. You could do 1, you could do 2 looks. It'll get you a nice Instagram spread. So we're actually publishing on Instagram now.
Right. Yeah, I remember that's what you were telling me. To have the John Ricard archive on Instagram, which I do. So
I know the
whatever.
pictures I produced
Right.
on your
I mean-
Instagram. I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
it
good
too.
stuff, yeah.
I mean, but you have to be the curator. You have to just curate your Instagram
Right.
and think of it that way. And it's like, what kind of museum is this? What am I focusing on? What kind
Right.
of images am I curating? And who am I going to attract? Do you
Right.
know if it's more sexual, that you're going to get a more
Yeah.
wider mainstream audience, or if it's
Yeah.
more like street that's going to be targeted? But there's
Right.
plenty of people out there that are fans of street photography.
True. Right.
You know, who are
think I'm a little
connoisseurs
spread
of
out. Yeah.
photography.
Yeah, I'm a little spread out is the problem.
Yeah,
But all right,
that's
but I think we're
the
going to wrap down unless anybody else has any other thing they wanted to
No.
mention. All right, so I mean, I'm dead serious when I say this. I thank you for your time coming.
Oh, thank you for
I'm
having
honored to
me.
have you here. It's like a lot of fun to talk to you because you are really doing something specific about, like, say, the social media and the multiple revenue streams. I think is a fascinating topic. I appreciate you just sharing all that
I
information.
can't wait
with us. That's
to
so
watch
cool.
it. So send me
Yeah,
the link.
it's good. No,
I always,
definitely.
I always enjoy watching it and seeing
Right.
it and hearing it again.
And sending
So,
out. Yeah, it's going to be cool. So I thank
Yeah,
you for
we'll
that.
definitely tweet an Instagram about it.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate
So,
that. I'll be on your Instagram
breaking
at least.
news.
Right, with all my clothes on. All right, but where do we find you and your brand?
Showmag IG, SHOWMAG IG. So Showmag IG or Showgirls with a Z exclusive.com. You can find us on newsstands. My email is Sean, SEAN, @cummingsmedia.com.
Right. Okay. And then you can always pick up. I'm showing the cover again. There they go. Look, Erica Mena and Sin Santana.
Shot right here at
There we go.
580 21st floor, John Ricard Studio.
That's right. How cool. All these
With the
pictures.
assistance of John and Ray.
Yeah, we were both here working. And then,
There's like 4 or 5 girls in there that we
yeah,
shot.
we shot this girl here. What is her name?
Olivia Marie.
Yeah. And then my personal favorite, you're probably not supposed to say that though, right? But this Nisi Kamai, where is she?
She's more right there.
Yeah, here she goes. Yeah, this was my personal
So if you
favorite. She was
Instagram a
just so
picture
nice.
of her boobs, I think you'll get a lot of followers, John.
Yeah, we have some of those we can send out. But there she goes. I mean, she was just so cool. She looked amazing, and she was just super nice. And
Would you like
I
me to
follow
give you
her
her number?
Instagram. I have her Instagram. I'm sure I could
Okay.
reach out to her. But look,
Well,
there's
you
my
could,
ring
you could
again.
send
Look.
direct messages on IG now,
Well,
John.
we're not going to do
You
that
could
because
DM her.
you see that ring, right? We're not going to do that, okay? But anyway, if you want to find me on Instagram, it's John Ricard, JohnRicard, okay? And Ray, where do we find you on Instagram?
Not on Instagram, but you can find my work on GettyImages.com, and you can.
have an Instagram?
And you
This
can
whole
just
Wait, say that again, Sean.
After this whole conversation, how can you have someone on the show who does not have an Instagram?
Well, that's why I said I was going to have you
He's
convince
a bad
him to get
influence
one.
on you.
I know.
It's not an influence. I respect what you guys are doing. I just don't need it, or
It doesn't hurt.
I mean, I just I'm late to the game, so I admit that.
Keep in
and-
mind, though, considering all this stuff jumped off like, what, 2008, 2009, seriously, none of us are late to the game. Right now is not late to the game because this stuff, in some form, it's going to be here 20 years from now. This is still new to the game, man, so jump on it now. It's not late. You could build a following in 6 months if you did it right. Like Sean was saying, focus what you're doing, and like we said with me, mine's all spread out. Mine's all spread out, my audience, but if your audience is not spread out, if I did only street photography, yeah, I could build an audience very quickly. So now don't think that's late to the game. First of all, it's never too late, but certainly not in 2014. We're only up to the iPhone 5. One day we're going to be on the iPhone 55. But we find you, you said,
GettyImages.com or RayTamara.com, RayTamara.
Please start an Instagram, Ray. Ray, please start an
maybe
Instagram.
tomorrow. If you, are you
Or
coming
even
tomorrow
a
when we shoot the
Tumblr. Do
show?
you have a Tumblr?
No, he don't have, no. Are you coming tomorrow though when we're shooting some of this show stuff?
Yoga teacher training, so I'm out of pocket.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Come by at some point. We'll be here for 12 hours as usual.
Yeah, I know. Well, I got a family thing, so I got to break at some point. But anyway, thank you guys for listening, and thank you to Sean Cummings for coming through for the second time to Camera Work Podcast. Thank you guys. Beautiful. That was so much fun, man.